Thanks for joining us. I'm Adam Jadish with TRG, Director of Retail and Hospitality Solutions. We're joined by two special guests today, Greg Garland from Zebra and Jim Kander from Spectralink. And I'll let you gentlemen do a quick intro.
Thanks, Adam. Hi, Greg Garland here with Zebra Technology. I'm the Channel Account Manager, and I support all the efforts of TRG, and they are growing in the retail sector. And today we're going to have a little conversation about trends and COVID and how things have changed for retail in our space.
And I'm Jim Kander. I'm Director of Retail Accounts for Spectralink. And as Greg mentioned, we're going to talk about what we're seeing in terms of the pandemic, but more importantly, how that's affected customers, how people buy things, and what we're seeing about branding with our retail customers out there. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, obviously we all know that that retail has changed drastically over the last 12 months, and it's going to evolve even more so than over the next 12, right? And where it ultimately is going to end, I don't know if anybody really knows, but there's a lot of trends and a lot of good, exciting things that are happening right now. So just kind of start the discussion. So we've got studies that show around like 75% of the retailer professionals out there, they really expect what's happened in COVID to basically, resume post-COVID and, be the future of what we're doing right now. In fact, you got 40% of the retailers right now, professionals in IT, are planning this year for a transition into how they're actually servicing and delivering to their customers and everything. So I want to ask you, I'll start with Jim. What changes have been implemented in retail that you think are gonna continue post-COVID during this time?
So that's a great question, and I think at the beginning of COVID, we saw this move to people buying online and picking up curbside in a small way. But what happened was it accelerated during the pandemic. Amazon had already figured this out, so they were already in the throes of people buying from them, and really retailers had to look at what was going to distinguish them from Amazon and keep their brand alive and keep them, those customers coming to their stores, even if they were only picking up curbside. So I believe that trend is going to continue from a curbside perspective, and then how people shop in general. And what we're seeing is, Sam Walton said this back in the early 70s. They asked him why he built such big stores. He said, "I built my stores to become distribution centers in the future." And so Amazon and Walmart are going head to head against each other in that regard, but I really believe the curbside and the buy online, pick up in store will continue in the foreseeable future. I think it's here to stay.
Very good points made there. I believe that with the onset of COVID and the expectations now are going to stick. In other words, the customers that are consumers are becoming completely, the expectation is for things to happen in real time, for inventory to be there on site. So that's not going to go away. Everybody's improved their processes for on-time delivery and the items being on the shelf. So because of that, these technologies that we're all a part of as far as what we're positioning to our customers are going to be enhanced. Those applications that are unique to a Walmart, to a Best Buy, are going to become more robust, enabling the consumer to make decisions prior to going into a store, being helped as they're in the store, because they want to go to the store, but they also don't want to linger in the store like they want to. So they want to be able to move through that store, get what they need on time, and be satisfied with what their experience is.
So again, with this whole thing, it's changed drastically. There's no doubt about it, right? You got curbside pickup, right? Everybody and their brother, every retailer out there, if you didn't have a curbside pickup app in March of last year, you were in a world of hurt. That was one of the only ways to deliver, to your customers, is either have them pick it up or hit that e-commerce button where you're delivering to the actual consumer. If you didn't have that, you're behind the eight ball. So what inevitably ended up happening is that everybody spun it up as quick as humanly possible. So there's a lot of challenges with the curbside pickup that are out there right now. Can you talk a little bit about the struggle behind having a good curbside pickup model and a bad one? And there's a distinguishable difference, right? Because the good ones, it's a phenomenal experience for the end user, right? But the bad ones can be painful and actually hurt your brand more than anything. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the interesting things about buy online, pick up in store is it's not just a transactional thing. It's not just about people sending a message to an e-commerce system. It's the reaction of that e-commerce system to the supply chain and the connection point to that supply chain. Because what we're seeing is, if you looked at a distribution center or a distribution facility at Amazon, it is beyond belief from a logistical perspective that you can pretty much buy anything you want and get it delivered to your home within a day or two at the most. Sometimes they're out of stock, but very rarely. So that supply chain is really critical. So is the e-commerce system, and there's so many variations of those e-commerce systems. That's one of the difficult matchups, is the technology that's delivered at the front of the store for the customer experience matching up to an e-commerce system and a supply chain that might not be viable enough to bring that forward. So that's the biggest challenge for retailers caught in the middle of the pandemic. A lot of them reacted very well. Many of them had already started down that road, but then they really accelerated that. But they ran into a lot of problems along the way. And we've got some customers that have just basically a phone number on their building, and you call the number and they come out and deliver your product. That's no way to have a BOPUS strategy.
No, the point you made, a lot of it is taking place behind the scenes, behind the store, as far as the supply chain. And you know, some studies that I've read too around the information has been collected over years. To your point, this has been going on for a while. We're leading up to this, but what they're finding is the importance for the cross communication, supply chain, manufacturing, planning, all these things. They've been collecting information kind of in silos, and it's about the communication between these that leads itself to that ability to have that product on the shelf in real time. So a lot of those mechanisms behind the scenes are going to lead to the success on the front, the storefront. And for that consumer, once again, that expectation's baked in regardless if things get better, COVID goes away. They've been benefited from COVID because of this ability to get what they need in real time. So I just see that.
It's very interesting too, because I remember a commercial growing up as a kid, Northeast Appliance, which was based in Euclid, Ohio. They used to have a commercial that said, "An educated consumer is our best customer." Well, today, an educated consumer is very demanding. Not like they used to be, because in those days, you'd walk into a store, you'd order something, and then you'd wait. We have an expectation now, I want it now. And that's how the pandemic has changed everything. Remember the toilet paper issue and the sanitizer issues and all those kinds of things. The supply chain was woefully unprepared for that event.
You know, and that education is taking place with these apps. It's very important for these the resellers, the customers that are selling the products, the Walmarts, the retailers. That app has to provide that information too. So as opposed to just say, hey, you got one in stock, they're going to be showing product comparisons now, right? They're going to be showing you a lot more information. That's going to require more processing power. It's going to require the 5G and some of the other technologies that are emerging that will enable this. Augmented reality is going to play a role in this. So people may be reluctant trying clothes on or trying other types of apparel on, and now they can do it like by pressing some buttons and getting your image, and you can see what it might look on you prior to even trying it on. So things like that will help the customer feel comfortable, feel safe, but still having that experience in the store.
So 5G is obviously coming out, and it's coming out in a big way. Do you see that emerging as a top technology driver for some of this stuff in the future?
A driver or an enabler, maybe, right? Yeah. It's going to allow for that. Those apps are going to require more processing power, including the augmented reality I was just speaking to. But it also puts that communication information to the edge. So there's going to be a seamless transition between someone who's outside the four walls, between someone who's inside the four walls. So that speed of that transmission is going to be crucial, because everything's speeding up real time. So all these little pieces add together to that seamless transaction transition, or the experience that the customer has at the storefront.
And we've seen it obviously with the analytics too, right? Analytics is everywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, you've got the traffic counters, you've got the devices that measure the IP address within a store to find out who your customers are, the people signing into your app, which you can get their customer information. And
hanging on the buying behaviors, all they're being tracked and recorded, right? So then those suggestions of what you may want to consider are all going to be there at the consumer's fingertips.
From the store purchase to the distribution, e-commerce purchase, and everything in between and everything. So, I mean, it's all driving, it's all changing, and it's all, you know, obviously kind of right in front of us right now, and everything goes with it. Now with curbside, right? So curbside, some of the struggles that curbside had. Obviously, it's customer interaction, right? This was the number one thing that everybody wanted to focus on, was making sure the customer experience was top notch, right? Some are good at it, some aren't, right? Whether it's tying in GPS services and location tracking to be able to deliver when somebody shows up, or whether you have a phone number on a sign, right, that goes along with it. One of the things we're seeing is digital signage is starting to pop up, right? There's an opportunity to market to the consumers as they're sitting in a spot waiting for something to happen that you're going to see more and more of as it comes. Now, can you talk about the difficulties that a store has as far as delivering, right? And what I mean by that is order comes through, there's a pick process that needs to happen and occur in a store standpoint. So can you talk to some of the difficulties they have and maybe some of the technologies that are coming out that can help kind of drive more efficiencies on that side of things?
So click and collect as an example. One of our customers does that right now. I noticed yesterday, I was in the grocery store here in Bay Village, and I saw a young lady with a device, and she was checking off as she went around the aisle and picked and put it in the basket, and then packaged that, brought it to the front of the store for delivery. That's great. The problem is exiting the store. If that customer says, I can't pick it up, that last mile is a critical element. How do we do that? But the efficiency of watching her, and I kind of followed her around because I was shopping in the same area, picking up a recipe that I made for dinner last night, which was wonderful. And what was interesting was watching her and how inefficient it really was. So that also the store itself becomes this focal point about efficiency in shopping, not only from a physical perspective, people walking that store, how they set it up, how they, tendency is all the healthy foods are on the outside of the store. In the middle of the store is most of your processed stuff. So I think there's this shift not only from a health perspective, but also from an efficiency in shopping and picking application, where the application might work, but the way that it's picked and the way it's delivered is really inefficient right now, especially in the grocery industry. Whereas, you go pick up a dress, you box it, and you got it ready to go. That's different. Where it's multiples and multiples, that e-commerce system really has to do a good job of projecting to the employee, where do I go to get the stuff so I can get it into the cart and get it out to the curbside.
Yeah. And that's a big challenge for IT executives, yes, right? When you're sitting out there, right? You've got, it's money, but it's also, employees that have to act efficiently within a store, and you have to obviously deliver in a certain time. But again, to be able to do it efficiently and be able to track all that stuff is a struggle that a lot of them are trying to figure out right now. One of the big customers that we work with, a major sporting goods store, right? They have a fantastic app where it's very good customer facing, but they're completely ripping it out and redoing it because of the struggles they have with the backside of things and delivering to the actual customers that are going to go with it. So, Greg, can you go through just some technologies that kind of help, a store associate? Or I guess what you're seeing the trends come from the Zebra standpoint.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about 5G, and that's going to run on a Zebra device, maybe a TC57, TC whatever it might be. Yeah. So the processing power is crucial. That app that's going to be running there is crucial. Then you start talking about, okay, I'm a customer, I'm going into a retailer, who's going to help me find something, or how do I find things? We're just talking about efficiencies in the store and how you go about finding things. So some things like, as opposed to just getting updates via chat, there's going to be a lot of chat functions, a lot of texting functions taking place. And in real time, more than just, hey, we have this, maybe it's a real-time discussion you're having with a sales associate who's assisting and helping with that. So we see that as an emerging component as far as the customer experience and how they communicate once they get in a store to make it efficient to find things. In addition, a technology like voice, like Push-to-Talk Pro, enables that communication in the store for the sales associates to speak very quickly, verbal commands, hey, aisle, whatever it is, and they can react very quickly as well. Where areas may need restocking, customers are sitting waiting, things of that nature. So that ability to communicate for the store associates to get to assist the actual customer is going to be crucial itself. So those are some things that we see that are definitely part of the equation, but mobility is the key. Yeah. And there is a whole array of mobile devices, not only for the consumer with their smartphones that they're bringing, but they're going to interact with the sales associates that carry those devices too, and allowing for the POS to take place in a mobile fashion as opposed to waiting. So we see that also as an emergence.
Yeah, I agree with you. We see the communication aspect is just as important as everything, right? Communication, the standpoint of group and team huddles, right, aren't necessarily happening right now. So whether it's everyone has a two-way radio or everybody has a mobile device that obviously connects to the curbside pickup, it allows an associate to help out a store customer come through and pick out a device or pick out a product that may not be on the shelves that they can ship directly to the store and different things like that. But the communication within a store has become more important just for a safety standpoint and a purpose standpoint too, to make sure that everybody's acting as efficiently as
I should
possible.
have highlighted that technology allows for all those functions to take place on one device, and that's key. Because you want to simplify things for the store associates too, the sales associates, to be able to act and utilize these different applications.
I think what Greg is saying is absolutely true, and the other thing is that communication piece, so that human interaction, that the part that we do at Spectralink with voice communication and the ability to deliver interoperability across various call control platforms and integrating and doing those things to bring that piece of it into play as well. But I think what Greg mentioned about, we've got consumers now coming in with their own smartphones. Those smartphones are smart and they have a lot of information on them. So we need to be able to match up to them. But more importantly than that is really delivering that customer service piece, because that brand, that whether it's a Macy's, a Nordstrom's, or Meijer or whomever, that name sits out there. I went to Meijer today, or I went to Macy's today, and they said, boy, I got in and out of there really fast. It was great, good experience. That goes a long way to building the brand of a retailer, and they need that. And so that it goes back to what Greg mentioned, not only the efficiency in a single device, but matching to the consumer and their expectations and delivering that good customer experience. So,
where is retail going to go? Where is retail going to go in the next 5 years, and what does this look like?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. I think, I had it in my mind as Greg was mentioning the single device. Who are the survivalists? Who are the people that are going to survive, the companies that are going to survive? It's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of teetering right now. A lot of people are on the brink. It seems that we had a good Christmas season and the pandemic is beginning to abate a little bit. I think people are still going to shop. I noticed that over the weekend here in Cleveland, how many people were out, not only with the good weather, but shopping in general. Stores were packed, people are shopping. What's interesting, the big box retailers might shrink a little bit, both by volume of stores, but by size of stores and repositioning how they approach their customers. But what's really interesting is the emergence of boutique kinds of companies that are coming forward. And these are the Sephoras and the Ultas and those that are really specifically identified as, I'm meeting a specific need for my customer. Whereas a Macy's or somebody might have so much to offer that they need to shrink that to get focused back into the shopping experience in their stores. So I think the future says specialty is going to be king. And I also think that the big box retailers shrink. Home improvement will grow. I think people are staying in their homes longer. They've redefined who they are. We've all redefined who we are, and we're going to stay in our homes. Home has become the new thing, and people are using not only their computers to shop, but also the fact that they still want that experience to go into a store, but the store itself is going to completely change in the future for sure.
Yeah, I would just tend to agree with that. I'm not sure if I can add anything else to that. So
what we see is a smaller footprint, right? The stores and the companies that are able to offer a product online where a customer can purchase online, can offer product in the store, right? They could walk into the store, they could see a size, and if it's not there, they can order it on a device and ship it to that person's house. It is the future where that's going to be. And the ones that thrive in that are going to get a lot of business and repeat business, and the ones that don't and can't offer that good experience are things that aren't going to happen, right?
They're all going to be fighting Amazon in their efficiencies, and they're continuing to push the envelope from a in-time type delivery.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
And a lot of those big box retailers, their stores are not only going to end up becoming showrooms, but they're going to be part of the supply chain as well. So they deliver product, and all of a sudden that store might have a quarter of it sitting there with inventory of what they sell, so that I want it today, here it is. Now, it might not be a bed, and it might not be a dresser, but certainly those stores are going to have to really redefine what they represent. You know, Sears Roebuck just didn't make it, right? They just didn't make it because they never evolved. But a Macy's is going to go somewhere because of their backstage concept and what they're trying to do with makeup and many other things. So that's what's going to happen. It's a shift that's going to take many, many years.
Going to continue to grow on that side, right? And there's going to be more storefronts, right? Where all I have is product, and you can't really buy anything here. You're going to pick what you want, and then you're going to have it shipped to your house next week, right? Appliances is going to that. I've seen apparel companies start to do that kind of stuff and everything, and just turn that into a touch feel. I don't have to carry it, but you know, you get it the next day type of thing. So, well, thank you guys very much. We really appreciate you joining us today, and we thank you guys for watching. And if there's any follow-up questions, please do let us know.